everybody. Welcome to Highway of the Hidden Podcast. I'm your host, Polar Bear. And on tonight's episode, we have a special guest, Dylan. Dylan, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Staying busy. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. Just finished up some yard work and stuff. So you told me you got some pretty interesting stories, huh?
Yeah. Like I told you when we were messaging, I'm better at telling them in person than in conversation. They kind of sound cheesy when you message somebody, but yeah. So I've had two occurrences that I cannot explain. Mind you, preference to this, me and my mother growing up every Sunday was watching Paranormal Investigation.
Right.
She was more into it for the paranormal side. She's real big into the paranormal. Me, on the other hand, I'm into the history. I like watching the history part of it when they go back and they recite the dates and everything like that. So I would stand in the category where I'm not saying I'm a believer, but it's not that I say that it's fake or it's scripted or anything like that. I'm right in the middle. I always think that there's justification for something, or, maybe it is a paranormal, but the two instances I had were 100% without a fact paranormal. And one of them was at the Hotel Galvez. I was working as a salesperson for a temporary power and HVAC company, and we had got a job there. And we were talking to I believe he was like a manager of the facility. He didn't own the hotel at the time, but he was kind of giving us a tour and telling us, hey, these are some of the things that we need. And one of the places we went was where they do a lot of wedding ceremonies or like conventions. So he told us, okay, well, I need some AC in here for the summertime because our AC system just isn't quite up to date. It can't keep up with, more than 100 people in there because it gets hot.
Right.
So to make a long story short, it was me and two other technicians were setting up the AC hanging temporary duct. And we were informed that the exit doors we couldn't go out of. They were locked and they were alarmed. And the only two exit doors were out one side of the room, and then the other one was by the kitchen.
Right.
The only other way we could enter and access this place was through the main door. We had to walk to the left. No, I'm sorry. Walk in the main door, walk to the right to walk into the ballroom. So we were there, we're working, and, we're kind of him-hawing around, throwing stuff at each other, typical on-the-job stuff, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, so I'm on the scissor lift, I'm up in the air, and the other two guys are handing stuff up as I'm hanging these temporary AC ducts. And we hear just this loud bang, just boom. And both the guys kind of spin around real fast. And I was like, what y'all scared of? And I was like, it's probably just somebody walking in. Well, one of the guys says, man, that's the kitchen. And I was like, oh, well, they're probably, cooking breakfast or lunch or whatever. Didn't think nothing of it. So we go back to working. Well, as soon as I get down, I said, let's go check it out. Let's go walk around. So we go walk around. We go back to the kitchen. The exit door is locked. It's one of the push doors. So I kind of come back out of the kitchen. I look out the window. The only thing over there is a big brick wall and a garden. There's no walkway. Didn't think nothing of it. I thought, okay, maybe a bird hit the window, right? We go grab lunch, come back, and we're sitting in there. We're eating. And I'm like, hey, once we get done eating, we'll do this, and this, and we'll call it a day and we'll head out of here. All of a sudden, we hear the boom again. And then we hear, hey, like, clear as day. Now, mind you, this is after lunch. This is 1:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We hear, hey, and both those guys jump up and they kind of like run towards me because I was standing at toward the exit of the ballroom.
Uh-huh.
They kind of like jump towards me and they look at me and they said, was that a bird? And I said, no, that was not a bird. So now I'm thinking, okay, someone's playing a joke on us. Mind you, this whole time, I did not know any of the history of the Galvez. I've lived in this area my whole life. Did not know anything about it. These two guys didn't know anything about it. So I walked back to the kitchen. The double door is a stereotypical stainless double swinging action door. They're moving together like they're rocking. And I mean, instantly got just the most bone-chilling chill I've ever gotten before. And I stopped the door and I pushed them open and it was blank. There's no entry to the kitchen from outside. Only that said exit door that's locked. And then you would have to walk past us through the ballroom to get to those double doors. Right. So I immediately kind of back out and I walk. And as I'm walking, a lady that works for the Galvez comes in. And she goes, are y'all all right? And I said, yeah. Yeah, we're fine. Like, we're good. And she goes, okay, well, I was just told to come check on y'all. And I was like, yeah, we're fine. And she goes, you all right? And I was like, I don't know how to explain this without sounding dumb. So I explained the story. And she then proceeds to tell us what's going on. Well, at the time, my then manager shows up, was coming to check in on the job. One of the guys was so terrified after hearing it, he left. He got in his search truck. He said, I want nothing to do with this. He was a Hispanic guy. He was very spiritual, stuff like that. He said, I'm done. I'm not coming back. He refused. Like, we had to call him the next couple of days. Like, hey, man, you're good. It's all right. He was like, no. He goes, I want nothing to do with that hotel. Nothing at all. He said, I went to church and I got blessed. My mother rubbed me down with an egg. He said, I want nothing to do with any of that. He's like, I'm done. And that was the less severe one. The other instance I had was pretty, that was the one that shook me to my core.
I mean, that one that just was pretty severe. So you're from like this area, like the Galveston area? Like,
yeah. So I was born and raised Pearland. And then when I met my wife, we got married and we live in Santa Fe, which is where she was born and raised.
Okay. Yeah. See, I live in Santa Fe now too, but I was born and raised in Angleton, and then transferred over here. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I've heard a lot of stories coming off the seawall. It's got a lot of history over there too. A lot of mob ties and stuff like that. So I don't know.
A lot of mob ties. That drastic storm. I mean, I am sure that it definitely holds paranormal. That day was definitely kind of like a, hey, you didn't think long enough about it, and it's kind of like, hey, we'll show our face. And when he put his face, whoever it was, the lady had kind of explained to us that the Galvez was very mob tied. There was reports of historical reports of gambling there, underground brothel, stuff like that. So with that, I would say that it definitely probably holds paranormal energy there.
I wonder and I guess a lot of maybe speakeasies too.
Oh, I would not doubt it at all. Like, especially with the mob, that's a perfect place to do it. Yeah,
makes you wonder how many people actually probably were like taken out there, even with the storm. Just like in that general area. I know the seawall. A lot of stuff's happened on the seawall. Because I'm actually doing one on Ghost Along the Brazos down there in Missouri County with Britt Bailey. I did an episode on Britt Bailey, like one of my very first episodes, but I'm gonna do some more on that. And yeah, that's pretty cool because I'm like, I like the history, but I like the paranormal side too.
Right. I'm always there. And I'm a firm believer that certain objects in history hold that energy.
Oh, definitely.
I've been to the Huntsville Penitentiary, the museum.
Wow. Yeah,
I got to see Old Shockey, and I am a firm believer that with said deaths, whether they were incidental, homicide, murder, stuff like that, when those items are placed in an area and whether it's bloodshed, like you said, or accident or fatal or whatever, I do believe that things like that hold energy. And so when you put yourself around it, it could either advance that energy or, you might not see anything at all. That's where I kind of say I'm in the middle. If I feel it, I feel it. If I don't, I don't. So I don't try to make things up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's pretty much where I think a lot of people, because some people do so much stuff for views, like especially on like YouTube or these TV shows, they'll make something up. Who was it? Taps. I forget the actual show, but back in the early 2000s, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 34. But back in the early 2000s when they were doing all that, and then it came out later that they would tell their guys, "Hey, you go run down this hall," and they had they would film it, but I guess cut the guy out.
Right.
Still hear the noise of him running and stuff. And I think that's where a lot of the mockery comes from. But I definitely believe that paranormal is real.
Yeah.
So let's get into your other story, man. I'm excited.
So this is the one, this story, I'm getting goosebumps, just trying to think about it. So this was 2019, 2020. I was working for a downhole drilling technologies right off of 288 Highway 6. I worked for them for several years. I think it was about 5-6 years. So this story kind of has multiple characters to it, but to kind of set the scene, I was working night shift. I had been working night shift, and the only reason I say this is because people always, when I tell them this story, I get a lot of people like, "Oh no, because you're sleep deprived." I want to preference that I had been on nights for months. This was
so you're used to it.
Yeah, I'm used to it. This was the middle of the week. I believe it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, and there were 3 people involved. It was me and 2 coworkers. One of them his nickname was Baloo, and the other one we called Beaker. So inside this shop, there's this big NOV torque machine, and Blue was running the machine. I was standing on the outside, and I was taking parts off the machine, putting them on pallets so we could, start our work day. That's what we did. And directly behind me, there was these 2 6x6 glass windows. One of the glass windows was for the lunchroom where we would eat our lunch, and we had a TV, whatever, there did meetings there. And then the other window that was directly behind me was my foreman's office that led to another series of offices, which is where like our vice president, our accounting, and everyone else sat on the other side of a wall. And so we usually did lunch about midnight, 1:00. And I get back on my side of the machine. We start punching out some tools, start rolling. And Beaker comes up and he's talking to me. And Beaker wasn't a very good employee. A lot of people were paying attention to his work habits, so they were trying to like keep tabs on him. And I liked the guy. He was just trying to fit in, right?
All right.
So I'm kind of leaned up against the machine, and he's talking to me facing towards the glass window. I have my back towards the glass window, and Baloo's in front of me. And so he's talking, and Baloo's kind of looking at me like, "What is he doing? Is he working? Like what?" And I was like, "No, I'll tell him." And so he keeps talking. I let him finish his story, and for no reason, I turned and I looked behind me at said glass window where my manager's office was, and there stands our VP. Now, to describe my VP, an older man, 55, 58 years old, probably close to 60s, receding hairline, a little bit of a pot belly. He always wore flannel shirts. He was Canadian. And nobody likes their bosses, but I mean, this guy was kind of standoff, hard act, stereotypical, right? And he's standing in the window. It's 2 a.m. He's standing in that window. So as I turn and I look and I glance and I see him, I look at Beaker. I said, "Hey, Clive's standing right there. Do something." So Beaker kind of like rushes and like makes it look like he's working. And he turns around and looks again and he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Clive's standing in Julian's office." He goes, "No, he's not." I said, "Yes, he is." And I turn around and he's not there. So he starts laughing at me. Well, then Baloo wants to know what's going on. So he walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, man, what's the deal? What are y'all doing?" And I said, "Dude," "Clive was just standing in Julian's office." I was like, "Clive's here." And he goes, "Dude, it's 2 a.m. He goes, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Clive's not going to be here. You don't get here till 7:30, 8 o'clock. I said, "Dude, I promise you he's here." So we walk into the office. There's nobody in there. Lights are off. All the doors are open. The front main door is locked. So we can see outside. There's no cars in the parking lot. And mind you, from the time that I made the statement that Clive was here to the time that we walked in, there's no possible way that he could have navigated out of the office, got in a truck, and drove down this 200-yard straightaway stretch. There was no buildings at the time there. We would have seen this truck. We would have seen taillights. So I started getting made fun of. And they start laughing at me and they're like, "Oh, you're seeing ghosts. Oh, you're scared. Da, da, da." I'm like, "No, I'm not scared." And I'm getting made fun of the rest of the night. So I was like, whatever, I'll just wash it off. So when the daytime guys come in, Beaker and Baloo start telling them, "Oh, Dylan's scared of ghosts. He's scared of the dark." So now it's a joke, right? So now they start bagging on me. So I change out. I go home. I go to sleep. I sleep through the day. I come back. And before I walk in, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, "Man, I'm going to hear this the rest of the day. I'm going to hear this the rest of my career that I saw a ghost and I'm going to get made fun of." I walk in and my foreman approaches me and he goes, "Hey, I need to speak to you." And I was like, "Man, it's about the stupid ghost." And he goes, "Yeah, but I need to speak to you privately." So I was like, "Okay." So we walk into the locker room. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "the guys were making fun of it. Clive does not want to hear about it. He's already heard about it and he wants to hear no more of it. Neither does his wife. His wife worked at the same company as an accountant and a dispatcher to dispatch our tools. So she was from Colombia or somewhere over there. I believe it was Colombia. I wish I knew exactly where she was from."
Yeah.
So anyway, he was like, "Drop it, man. They don't want to hear nothing of it." So I said, "Cool. I'm all about that." I was getting teased about it, so I'm good. Going about my day, Clive walks out and he said, "I need to see you in my office." And I'm thinking, man, this has gotten out of hand. Like this was not supposed to be that big of a deal. So I sit down and he shuts the door and he goes, "To start off, what I want to let you know, what you saw was real." I kid you not. Dude, I kid you not, I'm sitting in his office and I could feel like my whole body just like sucked down into my tennis shoes.
I'm getting chills and stuff. Wow. Man.
So it says, what you saw was real. And I said, Clive, I said, I'm sorry, man. I said, I was told not to talk about it. I said, I won't talk about it. I'm sorry. I said, I don't know what happened. I said, I just turned around and you were standing there. I said, was that you? He goes, no, it wasn't me. He goes, I want to explain something to you. And he said, I want this to stay between me and you. And I said, okay. He said, my wife, he said, we met with me traveling. He said, I used to travel the world working in the oil industry. He was a big engineer, so he traveled all over the world. He said, we met. He said, when we first moved in together, he said, I woke up to a guy standing at the foot of our bed smoking a cigarette. That was identical to me. He said, I woke up and I grabbed my gun, and when I pointed at the end of the bed, it was gone. He said, when I was awakened, he said, I woke up my wife because of the sheer panic, and she had to sit down and explain to me that when she was born, her mother allowed her to see her sister, which would be her aunt.
Right.
And under the circumstance that there would be no funny business, she told her sister, hey, look, I want you to be part of your niece's life, but you need to stop all this foolishness and stop being so rambunctious and causing grief with the family. Like, the lifestyle you're choosing is putting a lot of like stress on our family. So I will allow you to see your niece as long as you promise me in return that you will stop this nonsense. And what the nonsense was witchcraft. She was practicing said witchcraft with the family.
Like black magic, like real dark witchcraft. Oh,
like really dark witchcraft. And she made a promise. She said, okay, I'll stop. Well, in that said promise, she used her niece during a black magic ritual. And so one of the stipulations is that she would want information presented from a foreign entity that she would be comfortable with. So as this little girl grows up, this entity was just a mass that was following her around because her sister took her niece away from her and said, you promised me and you broke this promise, unknowingly that she used her daughter in a black magic, ritual.
Like a ritual, yeah.
Yeah. So she took the niece away from her, and what she did is she wanted this entity to follow her around and report back to her what's going on so she can still consider be in her life. So for years, this little girl grows up and has this entity following her around. Well, when Clive came into her life, he actually took shape of Clive. So that way that she was not startled or scared when she seen Clive, she would just think it was a form of her husband. So kind of like a doppelganger.
Yeah.
But the only way that she knew that it wasn't him was because Clive didn't smoke. This entity that looked like Clive smoked. And so there would be days that she would wake up and her room would smell like cigarettes. Or she would be in her house and she would walk in her house and it would smell like cigarettes. And so Clive explains this to me and he said, please do not. And I mean, with the most serious face, he looked me dead in my eyes. He said, please, whatever you do not interact with it. He said, do not give it attention. Do not answer to it. Do not call for it. He goes, we do not know what it will do, but her whole life she has ignored this entity. And all it does is try to catch her attention. And the reason for him being in the United States was to escape said entity. And he said, that's why I have dismissed everyone in the shop to keep their mouth shut. It did not happen. He goes, but I will speak with you that what you saw was 100% true.
That man, you went, whoa, some black magic. Now that's creepy. That
dude.
Yeah. That I can imagine how you felt, at least, like hearing him tell you that, like your stomach probably just dropped, because I got chills. Like,
I can tell you this, I've never felt this way before, but if you could ever, I'm sure you wear boots or you wear some type of work boot.
Yeah.
If you could just imagine how your body would feel to melt into your boots, that's what I felt when he sat there.
Did he just leave you on a cliffhanger like that? Did he give you any more information? Like what kind of dark magic was she into, or
no? Like so from because I asked him, I said, man, I won't speak about it. I said, I want nothing to do with that. I said, I don't like dark magic. I don't mess with demons. I said, I don't ever, I said, I don't do that. I said, I understand. I said, I'm so sorry. But when he said it, I can see his face now. It was just a stone. Like his eyes never stopped moving. Like he locked into my eyes and made sure that I was like listening. Like he wanted to make sure I had my attention, and just the atmosphere of the room, it felt like it was right here. Like everything came into just our face. Like that was the only thing I was keyed in on was his face. I never understood it fully. Like, was it going to come back around again? But from then on out, when I walked back out and people were like, hey, you talked to Clive, and I was like, yeah, man. I was like, it's all good. Like, it's over. It's done. Whatever. One of the guys was like, look, man, he's like, I'm going to have to bring somebody in here and like bless this place, or, burn some sage or whatever. It was no longer a joke. It was absolutely no longer a joke. And I think it was not, but maybe a month later, they took nights off. They were like, hey, we're going to do 2 shifts. We're going to do day and days. We're going to have an early crew come in. They're going to leave at, 1 in the afternoon, whatever. And then from 1, we're going to work till, 10 o'clock at night. But nights was done. They got rid of it altogether, and it was never spoke about again. The only thing that I could truly understand was she was not present that day, because what had happened was, and this is what I heard from the guys, is when the daytime guys came in, they're joking about it. And they're like, oh, Dylan saw a ghost. Dylan saw a ghost. Susanna, which was the lady, that was her name. She had walked out of the office to deliver paperwork for the next truckload to come in and pick up our tools to send out to Midland, Odessa. Right. She had came out and heard somebody say something about Dylan saw a ghost.
Right.
Well, she knows what's going on in her life, so she kind of like questioned. She was like, hey, what did Dylan see? And my friend that was on days, his name's Edgar, he said, yeah, Dylan saw a ghost in Julian's window and said it was Clive at 2 a.m. He said that she immediately dropped everything in her hands, turned around, walked inside, and was gone the rest of the day. Did not come back. She did not come back. I did not see her for weeks. Her job was very important. I can tell you that she probably needed to be involved with what we were doing. She was not present. I did not see her for the longest time. And then when I did see her, she did not speak to me. She didn't look at me the same. It was very, not a sour, like a, I can't stand you. You brought something up in my life and anyone brought up. It was more fearful. Like I'm not a big guy. Like I'm not no big burly guy. Like I would never hurt her. I wouldn't lay hands on a woman, but she had that intimidation to me where she was like, I don't even want to be around you. Like, I'm scared of you. I would walk in a room and she would immediately turn and she would go out. And I was just like, hey, I understand it. If you have something in your life that's fearful and I just witnessed it, I would understand why you have that fear towards me. But I want to let you know, I'm not conjuring black magic to bring this back. Right? It just so happens that I saw your husband at 2 a.m. in Fresno County in the office. I mean, everything made sense. It was my boss. It was your husband. He's in the shop. The only factor was it was 2 a.m. He should have not been there, but he was, and I thought he was. So that was kind of how that went down. And yeah, I mean, it immediately stopped. The conversation of it stopped. It never got brought up again. And I've told people this story, and it's the same thing. Like, they're like, man, I get goosebumps. Like, how do you feel about it? And I was like, man, I just never brought it up again. So really, you're the first person I've ever told as far as a public standpoint. I've only ever told people in passing because, you hear the stories, man, I saw this or this happened. Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, you want to hear a legit story with multiple, witnesses to it. I mean, I think our total shop crew, I think it was me, Beaker, Blue on night. And I think there was like 4 or 5 guys on days, and then including Clive and Susanna. Everyone that was here was involved with it. Like I said, it was probably 10, 15 people. So, I mean, that's hard not to justify. If it's just a one-sided story, everyone's like, you saw something. But 10, 15 people, it's like, oh, wow,
Yeah. And that's what brings the question, like when he brought you in the office, was it him you were talking to, or was it the entity could speak? Did they ever say, like, could it speak or anything? Or you never really got into it with them because they were real?
Yeah, I never got into it. Like he explained so when he told me the story, he was real adamant on, from her whole life growing up, from the time she was a young kid, a young girl, to teenage years. All it was this black mass, is what he explained.
Right.
And it would only appear occasionally. And so the only thing that I can maybe understand is maybe at the time the aunt was curious of where she's at in her life.
Right.
That's all that I can assume. But he said it would only appear occasionally. It wasn't an everyday instance. So all the way up till her adulthood, it was just in a black mass. When she started dating Clive and they took things serious and they moved in, it then became him. It was a full form of him. And like I said, that what I saw was him. I mean, it was like if someone took a picture and put him there. There was I could see his eyes, I could see his nose, I could see his facial hair.
Yeah.
I could see his clothes, I could see the buttons on his shirt. Like, I remember it vividly that it was him. But when I came in that next day, when he talked to me, I knew it was him. Because he was there and he was pretty present for a VP. I mean, don't get me wrong, Thursdays and Fridays he's golfing, or, of course he doesn't show up to like a typical VP. But I mean, that happened on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and that next day before he left, he made sure he wanted to talk to me. And we were all present in the office. I saw the people up front besides Susanna, but I'm for sure it was him. Because he made it clear. He was like, do not reach out to it. Do not chase it. Don't talk to it. Don't ask for it to be present. He was like, because her whole life, she's only, seen it and ignored it. She's never faced it. She's never gone to it and introduced herself. She's never had any interactions with it. She just told him her whole life this black mass would show, and she would just know that, okay, I gotta leave this room, or I gotta leave this place because this mass is following me. And he goes, like he said, he's seen it. He saw this mass at the foot of his bed when they first moved in, and he reached for his gun. He had a pistol on his bedside. He reached for his gun and drew down on it. Well, when he drew down, it was gone. And she was waking up by him being startled, and she was like, what'd you see? So she's having to explain this part. So he's seen it too. I've seen it. Mm-hmm. She's seen it. Who knows who else has seen it that hasn't said anything? But when he explains the story, it does make sense. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, did I dodge a bullet? Because what if I would have turned around and saw him, and I walked in and said, hey, man, how's it going? Where could that have gone from there?
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you're kind of blessed that your boss that has a said doppelganger was kind of a hard ass. So you really didn't want to like conversate with him. So I kind of look at it as a blessing that I didn't go and approach it, or I didn't try to make conversation with it, because who knows what could happen from there.
Yeah, if you went in and said, hey, man, what's up? If he'd have been friendly, then, like you said, it could have attached to you, because they don't know what it would have done. Which is, I find it strange that they never reached out to the aunt to try to, like, hey, you need to break this curse or whatever it is. That's crazy that there's magic out there that people can put on you and just run your whole life.
Yeah.
That's scary, dude, that you had to see that. Oh, man.
Well, my biggest thing is, like, and and I know, and everyone else knows, there's bad everything around here. There's bad people, there's bad spirits, everything like that. I don't know how a person themselves can go and seek the bad energy and then live with it. Like, man, I'll tell you what, if I'm in my house and a door slams, I'm 3 speeds here, there, and gone. I'm out of the house. I'm
with you.
But yet there's people in this world that can use these spiritual books or spiritual readings and everything like that, and they can bring all this negative, just dark energy, and they can bring it all in a room, and then they somehow can manipulate it to use it for them. But like, you're only setting yourself up for that bad energy, and I don't want that. Like, I don't want demons casted around me and everything like that, because it's never been good. It's horrible. But yet people can sit down and do it and be okay with it. That's what really scares me.
Yeah.
It's a different higher power that I don't want no part of.
Yeah, no, I don't. And I would never, but yeah, like you said, man, people do it every day. I mean, there's people that rob graveyards for skulls and stuff, and black magic. And it's like, man, I just, me, I'm a Christian, so I'm like, I want to leave that stuff alone. And sorry, in the background, my son's crying. But but man, that I just want to. Yeah, no, that's that one. Man, that threw me off. I ain't never heard nothing like that.
And and like I said, I don't go chasing it. I really don't have anything else that I could ever say that was paranormal. I've been to a lot of places with paranormal activity. I've never seen anything. I don't know if you've ever heard Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. He did one in Laredo, Texas at the Goatman's Bridge. That was not too far from a deer lease that we used to have.
Really?
Yeah. I've never been to the bridge. I've never stepped on it. I never went over there, but I have driven past where the blocked off entrance was. I never saw anything. I didn't go and look. I'm not an investigator myself. But after those 2 instances, it has put me in when it's your time to see them, they'll let you see them. They choose when it's appropriate for them to show themselves. And let me tell you what, the 2 times I've had it, there was not a doubt in my mind that I knew that that's what it was. It wasn't like, oh, a glass fell off the shelf or this was a reflection of what. It was 1,000%. This was it. I know it was. You can't back me off of it. I saw it. I have multiple witnesses, and take it for what you want. A story is a story.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell is my story.
Yeah, that's it. And I believe you, man. That's what's blows my mind, dude. I'm like you, man. I'm not an investigator. I'm a listener.
Yep.
People tell me, I listen to them, and I don't. I've seen some things, but I don't want to go. I don't ever want to go purposely looking for it and be like, let me see if I can see. No, I don't want to see it again, because what I saw, it shook me to the core. I'm actually going to have one of my best friends, I call him my brother. He's the one that was with me, and he's seen it too. And we're going to tell that story. He's going to be on a little while whenever we can finally get leveled out on our work schedules. But yeah, man, I don't ever want to see it. I don't want to see that stuff again. No, I'm like you, and it changes you, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's that part of you. It's the part of you that makes you the believer, right?
Right.
It's I can't explain it, and maybe you might understand too, but when you had that experience and you saw what you saw, it was almost like something in your body. It's a different type of fear. Like we've all been, scared of speed or scared of heights or, whatever, scared of spiders, scared of dogs. Like, you unlock a different style of fear. It's like your body just opens up, and it's like it takes a different breath of air out of you.
Right.
And when it does, it shakes your whole body, like your forearm, like there's the bones in your hands, everything just like lock up. And it's so hard to explain to someone that hasn't had that yet. And it's like, man, if you could only feel what I felt and seen what I had seen, you would understand it. So I think, like you said, you had an experience. I had the experience. There was probably a moment where your whole body just locks up and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not what I just saw. And so people like us understand that, but for someone who hasn't had that experience yet won't. And that's what's really hard to relay that in a story, is to get people to understand what I truly felt.
Yeah, and that exactly. And I think a lot of it too is because you see things that you're taught your whole life you're not supposed to see. You know what I mean? Like, oh, these aren't real. And then you're like, oh, wait, what? And back to that story. I seen a video the other day on TikTok, and I think they said, I don't know, somebody's son or whatever, they had like a Ring camera inside their house, and you see something walking like this way, and it's walking kind of funny, right? It's walking back towards, I guess, the left side of the house, and their son's coming up on the right side. Mm-hmm. And it's almost walking just like him, like I think they call him like a mimic spirit. And it's the creepiest video. And some people, oh, it's fake. But you could tell, like, when he comes out, he stops and he looks like he's home alone. And he's looking. It's like, okay, he just goes about his business, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe covered clams or he felt something. I don't know. But yeah, that was.
And especially
insane, man.
Like, especially with a kid like that video, I don't think that there's a kid in this world, and I have younger nieces and nephews, that you couldn't even make them act a certain way to be like, hey, I need you to act scared. So when you see a kid, it's a raw emotion. It's not something that they can act on, especially, I would say, anywhere from, 1-year-old to a 7-year-old. You couldn't get them to act good enough to make an adult believe, this is rigged. When you see that kid have that raw emotion and that that inner, that glimpse of whatever he saw, that's about as real as it can get.
Right.
Because like you said, there are phonies out there, and I hate that people do that, because there are stories out there that are real, and people have them, whether they want to believe in them or not. That's totally up to them.
Yeah.
Because people can see some, say, oh, it was me, I was tired, or oh, it was a car passing by and it casted a shadow, whatever it could be. So whether you believe it or not, you saw it. Whether you take to it or not, that's all up to you.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. Whether you, and like you said, man, there's people that live in houses that are haunted and everyone else sees it, but there's that one person, wow, man, that ain't nothing to worry about. It's just a dog barking and, a car, like you said, a shadow passing, but they're like, I live out in the middle of nowhere. There should be shadows passing, and like that. That's what it boils down to, I think, is what you believe in, really. But man, I don't know. That threw me off. I'm gonna have to.
That's the best I got for you. I hope I don't ever have to cross any more of those. It happened. I think it's a semi decent story that I get to tell, and I'm super glad y'all me on the podcast and let me tell it, because I've been trying to let somebody know, because I've had this story, like I said, since 2019 or 2020. And I've been waiting. I said, man, one day I'm going to get to tell this story. And so now is my chance to tell it. So
I'm excited. Come on. I'm glad I got to hear it first, man. That's awesome. Well, Dylan, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you letting me on. I'll definitely share the link, because I'm sure my mother's going to be excited. Like I said, we grew up together watching paranormal every Sunday. I will tell you this. She has a cool story. She's got a couple of them, because she had some instances, but my mother is the perfect description for what the Killing Fields murderer was looking for.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My mom used to get out of high school off the bus and would walk past that field every day to walk to her job at the daycare center. She's got some really cool stories. I'm going to pass on your information in your post. And
please do.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's got some stories. She's got stories that make my spine shiver. She's had some instances in her life that, man, she would have some good stories for you. So I'm going to pass your information on.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to have her on. Yeah. And especially about the Killing Fields. Because I live in Santa Fe. I live on closer to 2004 side, but I actually went by it for the first time. I think last year, we went, I think there's a subdivision over there. We went by it, and I was trying to stop and look, but my wife was like, no, we're going. And I was like, oh, I want to check it out. But
yeah. So my mom growing up was long blonde hair, green eyes, white skin. I mean, she was the picture child for what was happening there, but she worked at a daycare over there. And I mean, I'd have to let you tell her stories. They're hers, they're not mine, so I'll butcher them. But like I said, she's got some stories that have shook me to my spine, and she's kind of like me. There's not many stories that she has. I think she probably got 3 or 4 encounters her whole life. And when she tells them, it shakes me to the core.
Yeah, I want to hear them. Yeah, that's pretty exciting, because yours are very good. That was intense. Yeah, it's a lot different from what you wrote me. And then when you actually got in, I was like, oh yeah, this is night and day. Yeah,
yeah. When I saw your post, I was like, should I shoot? Should I shoot him a message? And so I'm typing it up and I'm trying to do it fast, because I was like, stuff like this gets attention. Like, people want to share their story. So I said, he's only got 8 comments on there, but he only posted it 20 minutes ago. I was like, let me make a message real quick and see if I can sell it to him. And then I'll go in the comment section. When you commented back, or when you messaged me back, I said, oh, thank God. That's why I kind of told you, I was like, man, I know what I'm saying right here is kind of cheesy. It's short storied. In person, it's a whole different story. I get more descriptive. So I definitely want to appreciate you again for letting me come on here and tell my story.
Oh yeah. Ain't no problem, man. You're one of the first paranormal guests I've ever had. So that's pretty awesome too. So yeah, man. Once we wrap up here, if you'd like, I can send you the raw copy, or you can wait, and then once it gets in, I can send it to you, either or, so that way you can have it, like your own copy of it. So
yeah. Just keep up with me, man, because I like stuff like this. Man, if y'all got any plans to do anything else, let me know. I'd love to join y'all on it too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, anything. You're more than welcome. Yeah, I'll keep up with you. I got all your information and stuff. I'll get with you and everything.
Team info, brother. Well, I appreciate it again, man. I guess you can call us out here.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for stopping by, man.
Yes, sir. Will do. Good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Now that was Dylan. If you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email or follow my socials. My socials are Polar Bear, HOTH on TikTok, and Polar Bear, HOTH on Instagram. If you'd like, shoot me an email. My email address is polarbearhoth@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a great day.